My wife and I have a multi-year long project to take down all of the densely packed flammable conifers that are way too close to our home and replace it with a fruit tree orchard. Unfortunately, one of the trees that had to come down was this big, wonderful cedar tree. Now, I don't love cutting down cedars. I really, really like cedar trees, but it was just in the wrong place. It's way too tall, way too close to the house, and it had to go. Now, this tree is 68 feet tall and change. Sorry, kids, it's not 6'7", and it's 24 inches wide at the base. My chainsaw bar is only 20 inches wide, so this got a little bit tricky, but I was able to make it work, and I want to walk through all of the steps that I went through in order to make this happen. This tree is about 40 feet away from my home, and that's a bit of a problem because you just heard me say that it's 68 feet tall. A lot of people would call an arborist for this, and I don't think that's ever the wrong answer, but there were a few things about this tree that I felt placed taking it down within my skill level. First, you can't quite tell in this video, but this tree has a little bit of a lean towards the downhill side away from my home. Now, if it were leaning towards the home, I could turn it with wedges potentially, and I've done that kind of thing before, but we are talking about something that has the potential to annihilate my home. So I wasn't really interested in taking a lot of risks with this particular tree. So if it were leaning towards the house, I would have called an arborist for that. Second, there aren't a ton of complicating features about this tree. It does have a school marm, which is the word for a two-topped tree, but both of the tops are relatively straight up. It's not like it's throwing the weight off in some sort of strange direction, so I didn't really anticipate any issues with that. Also, you can see this tree looks relatively healthy. I'm aware that a lot of cedars have rot inside the middle, and sure enough, as soon as I complete this face cut that you see me taking here, ants started pouring right out of the rotten middle. But the rest of the tree looks relatively healthy. The trunk is straight. It doesn't have a ton of branches that are throwing the weight off. I just felt really comfortable with this tree. One thing you've probably already noticed here is that I started my cut up substantially higher on the trunk than most people will cut their trees, and that's just simply because I could not fit my 20-inch bar through the very base of this tree. And I didn't want to do anything tricky like cutting at it from both sides because I was already right at the border of my comfort level with this tree, especially being that close to my house. And I wanted it to be just as perfect as I could possibly make it. This first cut you're seeing me make is called a face cut. At least it's called a face cut around my part of the country. In other parts of the country, they might call it a notch cut or a wedge cut. Whatever you call it, it's the same thing. We're taking a wedge-shaped piece of material out of the side of the tree in the direction that we want it to fall. And that wedge, that notch or face cut, should be approximately 1/3 of the diameter of the tree. So you'll see me stop a couple times and estimate this out, and I'm just being real careful to cut this as perfectly as I can possibly make it, because you can screw this up. And when you screw it up, it's called a Dutchman. And I'll put a photo up here of what a Dutchman is. It's essentially when you overcut on one half of that wedge and undercut on the other. And Dutchmans aren't the end of the world. It's just expected that you need to fix them before you move on to the next step, because Dutchmans can cause unpredictability when that tree finally falls over. With that face cut finished, I'm pulling out that wedge-shaped chunk of material and I'm checking inside for Dutchmans, and everything looks really good. Taking my time really paid off with this cut. And now I can check the wind, make sure we're still good. You can see it's a little breezier than I'd actually prefer, but the wind was going right in just the perfect direction. And I'll select a wedge. I like to have a wedge close by because I will jam that wedge through the back cut just as soon as I can actually fit one in without slicing up the wedge. So I'm gauging it up for this next cut, and it's called the back cut. The back cut needs to be straight on, right behind that wedge cut, just a couple inches above where that wedge cut hits that apex, that point in the wedge. And we're going to go straight in through the back. And again, I'm just going to go real slow, be real deliberate, and I'm going to take my time on this because I'm not in any hurry. A couple of mentions about safety here. You can see I'm wearing my hard hat. I've got my eye protection. I'm not wearing ear protection right now. Sometimes when I'm taking a tree down and I really, really want to hear for any sort of limbs that might be falling above the sound of my saw, I won't wear hearing protection for just that brief moment. But generally, when I've got a tree down on the ground and I'm sawing it up or limbing it, I will absolutely wear hearing protection. All right, and I'm going to jam in that wedge, and we're just going to keep smashing that wedge in as we go, because just in case I totally misread this and I was totally wrong and this thing wants to tip back, I want that wedge in place. I don't want to pinch my saw, first of all, but also we've got the proximity of the house that's complicating matters. You'll see me whenever I stop, often I'll kick on the chain brake on that saw. There's no reason not to. If I'm moving around the saw, if I'm taking a step, or if I'm putting my face there, right there, yeah, I'm going to hit that chain brake on that saw just so that it doesn't accidentally start running and potentially injure me. And we're going to tap that wedge in. Really, really want that wedge solidly in there so that we can send that tree in the right direction if we need to, if it starts tipping back. And right here, I went around to the other side, and I'm going to continue on that back cut to the point where I have a couple inches of holding wood. Holding wood is that part of the tree right in the middle, that hinge, some people will call it a hinge, where we don't cut. And that's typically 10% of the diameter of the tree. I don't always do 10%, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on what I'm dealing with, but the goal is 10%. I didn't get that perfect on here, and I'm going to show you all about that. I'm going to be very honest with my self-critique here about what went right and what went wrong. So we're going to continue on with that. Looks like we're just about good here on that side of that holding wood. And I did one more cut, which turns out not to be appropriate, and I didn't want to send the tree all the way over with my saw. In fact, I left room to use this wedge, and here we go. That fall just went absolutely perfect. I couldn't have asked for better conditions. I am so thankful to God. I'm thankful for all of the people, especially at the Idaho Department of Lands, who have taught me things over the year, who have taken the time to teach me what they know, and so that I could execute a safe cut today. And you can see, just like I mentioned, this tree absolutely is rotten, just like I was told, just like I was taught by those IDL guys. Expect to see some rot in the middle of a cedar tree. And in self-critique of my cuts here, face cut looks good, back cut looks level, there's no barber chairs or wood fibers sticking up out of the stump. Left side holding wood came out at 2.5 inches, but on the right side, I only had 1.5 inches. And after seeing all that rot, I really could have left more holding wood on that right side. But tree's down right where I wanted it, everybody's safe, and we can continue on with our project.